I think we're officially live. Yes, okay. So, Rupa Manjari Prabhu, thank you very much for sharing this quote. Can you read it, Prabhu?
Sure. I am always a bit dubious about organizations, and since the Swami left the planet, it does seem to be chaotic, with all kinds of guys thinking they're the gurus. To me, it's not important to be a guru. It's more important just to learn humility.
So, George Harrison interview, BP Fallon, the Sunday Tribune, October 18th, 1987. Just before Srila Prabhupada left this world in 1977, he removed the ring on his right hand and said to his disciples around him, "This is for George, give it to him." Jai. So, Rupa Manjari Prabhu, what did you want to say about this? Can you give a little insight? You wanted to share this?
Well, I think George's point is very intelligent. He's recognizing that these people are jumping to be the guru, but he's saying that's not what it's about. It's about being a disciple.
Jai, what is this? This is 1987, so this is 10 years later, right? Srila Prabhupada passed away in 1977 in November.
Right.
This is about 10
they'd
years.
already gone through several cycles of guru fall downs.
Oh yeah, that started happening immediately, right? After 77, by 87, some of them went crazy, right? Kirtananda went off. And
well, I don't know. I don't think Kirtananda changed very much.
no, I mean, went off in his own.
Oh yeah, right.
That's what I meant.
Made Nirvandavan his kingdom.
Yeah, he went to his kingdom over there, and he was the soul.
Bhavananda had already fallen down conspicuously. Rameshwar left the movement completely. Chai Tirtha had been killed.
Oh yeah.
By his beloved disciple.
So there's also a quote saying that when the great Acharya leaves, there's turmoil in his movement or something like that, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So I wonder if there's some kind of historical analysis done with different acharyas living. Like, I mean, well, we don't need to go back. Look at Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's institution that he started, the Gaudiya Math.
Yeah, Prabhupada talked not extensively, but adequately about how disgusted Bhaktisiddhanta was that his disciples were all struggling how to become the next guru, not how to serve Krishna.
Yeah, his last instruction was, you guys form a GBC and preach the message of Rupa and Raghunath, Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Goswami, unitedly.
He asked them to form a GBC,
yes.
And he said that in that quote that you're quoting, but actually when he asked them to do it, they basically refused.
I
don't know if they ever did have a GBC. Maybe they had something like it, but I have not heard of it.
Yeah,
I mean, GBC is Governing Body Commission. You know where Bhaktisiddhanta, they asked him, what is your model for GBC? And Bhaktisiddhanta, being the direct contrarian disciple of the ultimate contrarian Gorkashodas Babaji, said, it's after the British Indian Railway. So they seem to be doing a good job.
Right.
So he didn't care.
So
the British Indian Railway.
So the thing is,
refused.
Right, they refused, right. So they refuse, but now they refuse, that means what? Refusal is one thing, but they must have some kind of ulterior motive here, right?
Well, their ulterior motive is the Sridhar Maharaj that everybody likes so much. What he did was he organized to put a really weird guy as the Acharya.
Oh yes, Prabhupada talks about him if you read his books, and And Prabhupada
Yeah.
says in some camps the acharya is changing every year. He was saying something
Yeah.
to that degree, or every something like that.
Well, ISKCON has certainly done a million times better than the Gaudiya Math did. But then again, the Gaudiya Math was not meant to be a success.
Right.
When I look at it, it was just a holding corral for dangerous animals.
Another thing is, Srila Prabhupada saw the whole thing, and he kind of understood how he had to manage his own society, right? The whole train wreck. And it gave him, I mean, it seems like it, or I would think that.
What he did was he instituted the exact thing that Bhaktisiddhanta wanted, GBC.
No, yeah, that we can see.
And they completely overthrew Prabhupada.
Yeah,
This
right.
is where the key for the League for 10K is that the fact that Prabhupada was overthrown by his own leading disciples means that we need to now reconstruct ISKCON, at least right now on paper, like a legal document, so that it can, when people are so inclined, put it back where it belongs.
You think Prabhupada learned a lot from the debacle of the Gaudiya Math?
He didn't have to learn anything. He was being directly guided by Krishna.
Oh, yes. On that part, you're saying that he was being directed by Krishna. Prabhupada saw the whole thing, and then he wrote about it in his books also, so that his disciples could avoid all these things, right?
Sort of. I mean, Prabhupada is Trikaligya, past, present, and future. We don't know what Prabhupada saw, or how much he saw, or how much of the future. The interesting thing about Trikaligya, of a pure devotee, just like the Pandavas when they were banished into the forest, did they, being Trikaligya themselves, they're all pure devotees. Were these pure devotees just playing a role, saying, hey, we'll just pretend to be this, we'll just pretend to do that? Or did they play those roles seriously as though they didn't know? This is an interesting point, like more in the Mahabharata than anything in the Bhagavatam or Chamrita, because there you have people playing historic roles without any reference to what they actually know as pure devotees of the Lord. I mean, what if Draupadi is being disrobed? Is she cackling because she knows they can't do it? Or is she in distress because they're trying to do it?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point, that to look at it from that. Is it really what's going on in their pastimes?
But my conclusion, drawn after a lot of contemplation on the topic, is that Srila Prabhupada played each moment as each moment. He didn't look into the future much. He had looked into the future in a big way, but he didn't need to, because if he was guided by Krishna what to do next, what did it matter what would happen in 2 years after that? Do you see what I mean? Supposing that somebody tells you, here is the road, here's your car, get into it and drive for 10 miles, you'll reach your destination. Do you have to know all about that? Or can you just follow that instruction and do it?
Yeah, just
you
follow
might
the instruction.
Prabhupada saw every inch of the road in front of him. I would say that's not the case, because these leelas, that takes you up to the spiritual sky also, right? In the leelas in Krishna Loka, does everybody already know how things are going to turn out? How boring.
Right. So,
they're playing games within the realm of perfection, but they don't say, well, it's going to turn out well. If it was going to turn out well, then why did the gopis drown themselves when Krishna left? They drowned themselves in the exact spot where we are supposed to be getting our tilak from.
Hmm.
Why would they do that? So this is a more sophisticated understanding of Krishna consciousness, and not to be confused by the covering of Mahamaya that the ISKCON initiators might be covered with. Oh, Prabhupada didn't know this or that. We have to just follow the instructions and it'll turn out okay, sort of thing, you know? That's not the same thing. There's a difference, shall we say, between Mahamaya and Yogamaya.
Ah, that's a very good point. Yeah. Ah,
And they're both Maya. What does that mean? Illusory.
yes.
Yogamaya is the illusion of not knowing what's going to happen next in your rasa with Krishna. Mahamaya is not knowing anything really at all, because you're completely baffled by your material senses, your material body, your attachment to your body, your assumption that whatever race you are counts, you know. I mean, all of these things that we see around us at all times that are sort of solidified within the ISKCON movement now has nothing to do with Yogamaya.
Yeah, this point here you were making is from the Chaitanya Chaitamrita Adi Leela. I was just hearing, so I wanted to just post it on the screen.
Please do.
It's Srila Prabhupada writes, however, when the Lord says he takes charge of his pure devotee, he actually takes direct charge. A pure devotee is a soul who is forever surrendered to the Lord, just as a child is surrendered to his parents or an animal to its master.
Yeah.
Prabhupada, the Lord says here that he takes direct charge.
Well, that's it. So when Prabhupada wrote the direction of management, I think it doesn't take too much of a stretch of the imagination to understand that Krishna wrote the direction of management.
Mm.
And who, the blankety blank, dares to go against Krishna?
Mm. Mm.
Of course, we have gone against Krishna. That's why we're in the material world to begin with.
Right, right.
So Prabhupada is here to lead us out of the Maya to the Krishna Loka. But if you refuse to accept the standard that is given to you by Krishna through Prabhupada, then how can you advance? And then again, are you worse off than you were before? No, you're better off than you were before, because you didn't chant Hare Krishna before, you didn't take prasadam before, you didn't have kirtans before. All of those things are pluses. But in terms of achieving the desired outcome that Krishna wanted, no, that is a great faux pas or mistake on the part of the person who does it.
So a lot of people in ISKCON or whatever, institution, they misunderstand the message of the pure devotee and his instruction. I mean, if it's so important.
Go ahead.
If it's so very important, these things are not taught in ISKCON. How the instructions of the pure devotee must be followed exactly, because he's being directed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Writings, management, all these things.
You could even go beyond being directed. His mouth moves, Krishna speaks.
Yes, right, yes.
How do we know what Krishna sounds like?
Yeah.
Maybe he sounds like Prabhupada.
Yeah, Hansadura said to me, I don't know anything about Krishna or anything like that, but I know what Prabhupada has written and taught. So, so he was making that statement that you just said, that how do you know what Krishna speaks or?
Yeah, but then we have to understand that Krishna, when Prabhupada speaks, the reason why people say, okay, if the spiritual master speaks, you don't have the option of disagreeing. And they say, that goes against my American sense of independence and freedom of speech and freedom of thought. I don't go comfortably with the idea of simply accepting what somebody else says as though it were God speaking. But wait, what if it is God speaking through that person?
Right.
Then your whole sense of rebelling against us. Remember, all the hippies were rebelling against the authority of the United States government to go to the Vietnam War. They were really rebelling. They were against going. They were pacifists or conscientious objectors or so many things. So such people don't bend easily to authority.
So you're saying, you're talking about this American mentality of giving up your free thought and your free spirit, something like that.
Yeah, American in particular, the very thing that made America the right place to begin this movement is full of a bunch of rebellious people who don't listen to their parents.
Right, right.
As opposed to starting in Germany, which they tried to do. It didn't go.
Right.
It got a group, it got a following, but it didn't go very far. Or starting in France, starting in any European country, or starting in Russia, where there was a great deal of suppression, similar to the Biden regime suppression, where we will tell you what to think, when to think it, how to think it, and what to do about it. And then you program people to be programmed. Well, you couldn't start the Christian movement there. You had to start it amongst rebels. That's the good part. The downside is rebels will rebel against God too. I'm saying
right.
Extraordinarily. All of us are in a material world because we rebelled against Krishna, even if we did so in a subtle and relatively innocent way, saying, what if I were the one that was receiving all this worship? This doesn't sound like a hugely toxic statement, but if you're sitting under a desire tree, boom, you're in the material world.
Right, right. Yeah, immediately, right. So disobedience, now this concept of disobedience, it's very destructive. At least we can see now, some 50 plus years later in ISKCON, right?
Yes.
In at least in some areas, which is spreading or which has spread.
Well, they fell into the same trap, literally into the same trap that the Catholic Church fell into. You make an empire, and then you name it after God.
Right.
Then you get people to worship your leader, the Pope, instead of obey your leader, the Caesar or the king or whatever.
In the Varnashram or in the Daivi Varnashram, it's the pure devotee or the Kshatriya pure devotees, right?
I'm sorry?
I said in the Vedic context, it's the pure devotee or the Acharya or in the case of Mahabharata, they were very, in our case, it's Srila Prabhupada here.
Yeah. Well, if you have like Daiva Varnashram, what we're doing,
yes,
we're planning on creating the concept and the structure of the Daiva Varnashram, excuse me, the Daiva Varnashram will be inside of Srila Prabhupada. Inside of his psychology, mentality, instructions, not just obey Prabhupada. I will obey Prabhupada. Everything we do from morning till night will be exactly gifted by Prabhupada. It's not that we're going to be stomping around individually. We'll be part of, just because Lord Jagannath, being the Lord of Varnashram Dharma, owning the land, owning the housing, owning all the property, owning all the cows, owning all the grains, owning all the cloth. Well, that ownership by Lord Jagannath means that in order to access anything, you have to be completely surrendered to Srila Prabhupada, if not psychologically, at least physically. In other words, people are always going to have their difficulties on the mental platform unless they become completely surrendered.
Right.
But people don't start out as completely surrendered. They end up completely surrendered when they see no reason not to be.
Yeah. that point being said, a lot of devotees did surrender to a large degree, right? That's why the movement caught on so fast. At least in the beginning, it seems.
Say that again.
I said a lot of devotees did surrender. At least it seems like it more than 50%, right? That's why the movement.
They gave up sinful activity for the most part.
Yes.
Like when Shyama carved the San Francisco Jagannath deities, he would park his cigarette on Lord Jagannath's head while he was carving. There was a lady that ended up marrying Hayagriva, and she used to have sex in the basement with the brahmachars. But in principle, she had surrendered. In principle, Shyama had, and Shyama less than 2 years later, was in England with George Harrison, creating an album that has never been surpassed in the history of the Hare Krishna mantra being broadcast globally. So you see, the incomplete surrender was there, but progress was being made in the direction of surrender.
Okay, incomplete surrender and progress was being made. Okay, Jai, yeah.
Well, yeah. And that's right. The nature of the Kanistha Adhikari.
They make mistakes, right?
Well, we have incomplete understanding, incomplete realization. Right. If we had a complete realization, we would be at the very top of Kanistha Adhikari. We would all be pujaris or something. and everything would be perfect prasadam, perfect classes, perfect kirtans, perfect deity worship. That's what you should have at the top of the Kanistha Adhikari platform. But then that's just the beginning of getting back to Godhead. Just because you're perfect on the Kanistha Adhikari platform, you're a wonderful pujari, and everybody thinks you're great, and your lifestyle is pure, doesn't mean you're a devotee. Doesn't mean you're in your rasa with Krishna. I think this is where Bana was beginning to get a little confused. It's not your rasa with. You're not in your rasa with Krishna. You're just in a purified material body. And the key is the worship. In the Kanistha Adhikari platform, the way Prabhupada set it up and established it, the deities are worshipped in the mood of Vishnu.
Yes, that's in his books. Yeah, he talks about it.
Yeah. We can't worship Krishna in Krishna Loka because if we tried, it would be sahajya. It would be fake emotions. It has to be genuine rasa with Krishna. That's why in the Madhyama Adhikari, you progress to the point where you and Krishna begin to create a relationship with Maya in the between, the dark curtain of Maya in between. You sort of, on your shadow side, you're developing, offering to Krishna and receiving from Krishna. And on his side, he's offering to you and receiving from you. That's the way the rasa with Krishna begins. And when that rasa is 100% perfect, then the curtain of Maya rolls up. You come under the protection of Yoga Maya, and you can see Krishna face to face.
Right. So this quote, someone shared it in the group, so I'd like to read it.
Please do.
You were talking to that devotee who was challenging and saying that the Kanishta Adhikari can be a guru in absence of the Uttama Adhikari. Well, this is a wonderful quote from the Nectar of Devotion. No demigod can perform this act of delivering the conditioned souls. Because the demigods themselves are conditioned, a conditioned soul cannot deliver another conditioned soul. Only Krishna or his bona fide representative can deliver him.
Wow.
How about that quote?
That's perfect. Does it say which verse it is?
I can find out. Nectar of Devotion. Let's see. Okay, let me pull it up. So that's the quote for anyone trying to propagate this false understanding. Okay, this is from, I'll share it so everyone can see on Zoom. This is Nectar of Devotion, chapter 9. Right here.
Okay.
So So this is
That's
the
a give which, that's a
Uh-huh.
give which page number, or that's too much to ask?
No, this is just a compendium. It doesn't give a page number. This is chapter 9, Nectar of Devotion, chapter 9.
Okay.
Yeah. So there we go, huh? Isn't that
Yeah. So, the only reason why this isn't being taught broadly, openly, and in depth with heartfelt talk in Istagosthis, where people, instead of arguing philosophical points that we're tending to do, because we're not yet at this, we haven't yet gotten ISKCON to the point where you can deal with the topics of actual bhakti. We're
Yeah.
not ready yet because
Yes.
ISKCON's not ready yet. First, we
Right.
have to create the context, then we can do the things like this page here, which is glorious.
Yeah, no demigod can perform this act of delivering the conditioned souls because the demigods themselves are conditioned. A conditioned soul cannot deliver another conditioned soul. Only Krishna or his bona fide representative can deliver him. So these ISKCON gurus who are offering initiations who are conditioned souls, what are they actually offering the prospective disciples? I mean, if
Or
you're
are
not-
they considering themselves to be Krishna's bona fide representative?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Are they considering themselves to be? If they are, then they must be a Uttamadakari, right? Nectar of Instruction, verse 5.
Well, according to our friend who's arguing these points, it could be somebody else. It doesn't have to be a Uttamadakari as long as he has the right conclusion.
Then, right, right
You see
conclusion
how,
is right.
how dangerously disruptive that thought is?
Yeah, yeah. Just like we said, the other day that the captain of the ship is not qualified. So eventually everything will fail if these points are not discussed and come to a conclusion and everyone knows these things.
Exactly. So that's what our website, creeping along as it is going to demonstrate. It's
Yeah.
going to be a manifesto by which the age of Kali is going to be corresponded to, containing the Yuga Avatar. The Yuga Avatar has given a mantra which does not require initiation to produce perfection, that the Iṣṭa-goṣṭhī platform is a gradual platform of improving your status so that your salvation in the form of hearing and chanting the holy name comes closer and closer to your everyday life and your everyday consciousness as you reduce your bodily consciousness and get it down to a consciousness of pure spirit soul.
So I'd like to share another point here. This is from Srila Prabhupada Room Conversation, December 13th, 1970. Srila Prabhupada writes,
Is this you or a comment from?
oh, this is what I shared in our group.
Okay.
So Prabhupada writes, or no, this is not Prabhupada writing, this is a quote. Even a moment's association with a pure devotee, all success, not necessarily that one has to acquire it previous. No, generally it is so, but sadhu sangha has got its effect. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. You have not read in Sanatana Shiksha, in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And then Revati Nandan asked this question, does that also apply to reading the words of a pure devotee? Prabhupada saying yes. Even a little association with your books has the same effect? Revati Nandan asked that question. Even a little association with your books has the same effect? Prabhupada. Effect, of course, it requires both things. One must be very eager to take it, just like Maharaj Parikshit heard Srimad Bhagavatam, and there are so many others. They are also hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So Maharaj Parikshit was very serious. So both things should be serious. Just like the example, the husband and wife must be potent. Then there is pregnancy. Otherwise, there is no pregnancy. So, sowing the seed, the field also must be fertile or receptive. Then the seed will fructify. it is reciprocal. So I'd like to make a comment here that here people are saying that Prabhupada was a pure devotee, and why cannot Prabhupada produce a pure devotee? Let's say Prabhupada is a pure devotee, why cannot others be pure devotee? So here,
well, doesn't he more or less say it in this quote?
yes,
you can't produce pure devotees.
yes,
Pure devotees produce themselves.
yes,
You become a pure devotee by surrendering to Krishna, serving Krishna, and developing a loving relationship with Krishna.
yes,
You can't have somebody bonk you on the head. That's where the Catholic Church nonsense comes back in, where they can appoint you to be a bishop or appoint you to be a cardinal or appoint you to be a deacon or whatever, a monsignor.
so
They can appoint you.
yeah,
That can't be done. That's not bona fide.
yeah. So the ISKCON people, they argue, well, Prabhupada is a pure devotee. We have 85 pure devotees. Why can't any of these people be, like Prabhupada, pure devotees? This is the argument they use.
But then you have to be able to ascertain what is actually a pure devotee.
Right.
No, that's why we're so serious about Kanistha, Madhyam, Uttama Adhikari. If the pure devotee is an Uttama Adhikari, he is being directed directly, his words are directly coming from Krishna through his lips to your ear, our ear, my ear. That's what happens when you have a pure devotee. If you have somebody like a Kanistha Adhikari quoting, trying to realize something, trying to be as good as he can be under the circumstances, I have not yet met a single person in ISKCON who is not a Kanistha Adhikari. Now, there's some people that have remarkably purified lifestyles, but does a purified lifestyle make a pure devotee? Or does a purified lifestyle just simply narrow down the fields of your material sense of existence? In order to be a pure devotee, you have to be coming from Krishna Loka, not going to Krishna Loka, and certainly not wallowing around in the material world claiming to have been empowered by Krishna when you haven't. I mean, everyone's empowered by Krishna. If someone says to chant Hare Krishna, he's empowering whoever he says that to.
Right.
But that doesn't make the person who says chant Hare Krishna in Uttamadhikari. It just means that he is quoting the Uttamadhikari.
Jai. All right. Let me see. I have some other quotes that I'd like to share. Keep on speaking, Prabhus. It's just the four of us today.
These are your quotes, not from the site.
No, these are some stuff I posted in our WhatsApp group. So for anyone who's watching, we have a WhatsApp group for the League for 10K. Just click on the link. It'll get you in our group, and you can comment, share, and then ask questions and ultimately participate in the Zoom conversation, which we'd love you to participate in.
Yes, the League for 10K is sort of an exercise in archaeology. We're digging down and discovering what was there at the time Prabhupada was here, and we find out that he was attacked by people who didn't want to follow him, and he kept the movement going, knowing that at some point the League for 10K would emerge and put it all rectified, make it all straightened out. And what are we going to do? Come with an army and defeat the GBC? No, we're approaching things with knowledge. So if we can come up with the actual intent, words, actions, requests, and orders of the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, then those who want the real thing will read what we're writing and demand it. And those who want to do something else will create, essentially, like the Protestant church came out of the Catholic Church, they'll make a Protestant ISKCON that came out of the real ISKCON. They can do that if they want to say, no, we don't accept Prabhupada anymore. We just want to do these things. We follow what he said, but we don't agree that he was the perfect person or something like that. Well, go for it. but that doesn't mean that will help anybody in the long run.
Try. All right, here's something that I shared the other day. This is from our League for 10K WhatsApp group. Prabhupada writes here in the Bhagavad Gita lecture 1966, December 12th. If you can make God your intimate friend, then there is nothing wanted. You will be fulfilled. You will find yourself that I've got everything. And if we become convinced that God is my protector, Krishna is my protector, then how much happy and peaceful we will be. Huh?
Amazing. That's what everybody in every religion wishes, that God will be his protector. Unfortunately, they don't know who is God. I mean, they're operating through some sort of shadow gods that is reflected from Krishna, but not the actual Krishna himself. And the next thing is they're trying to become friends with that God without knowing who he is or how to become friends or what he wants. So they try all sorts of stuff. Muslims, Jews, Christians, they try all sorts of things, but none of it works very well.
Right.
In fact, Jesus, the Prince of Peace, is probably more responsible for the slaughter of innocent human beings than any other body of people on earth. Right?
Yes. So
go ahead.
Anything else to the Rupa Manjari is there? She's been listening. Any comments, Prabhu? You got to unmute yourself if you want to say something. Okay, I'll continue then. Okay. Just by hearing Srila Prabhupada, that's what I do, and I sometimes randomly search in Prabhupada's books about different stuff, So there's many things we can, just by hearing Prabhupada say all these things. Let's see, where was I quoted?
But what, if for it to be anything other than gossip, we have to have an intent. We have to want to know what Prabhupada wanted us to do.
Yes.
But ISKCON right now, they don't care very much what Prabhupada wanted us to do. They think they're doing what Prabhupada wanted us to do. Chant 16 rounds, take prasadam, whatever, hang out in the temple, listen to the guru. If you listen to the Kanista guru or initiator reading from the Shastra, that's better than you reading from the Shastra. And if you're asked to give a class, then your reading from the Shastra is better than somebody else in the classroom, in the temple, hearing the Shastra. It's just very, very low grade. All those things must go on for the Kanista Adhikari platform to exist. Prabhupada encouraged devotees to give class.
Right.
But that is not the same thing as understanding what we're doing, and most importantly, why are we giving class?
What's the reason for it? Right.
Is it just as a ritual, or is it just so you can come up with cute little anecdotes to remember, or try to puzzle things that you don't understand and then ask somebody afterwards? Or is it that this is how to get the public attracted to Krishna consciousness? The classes are not just for us. We need to bring hundreds of people into the temple and let the hundreds of people benefit from that. Somebody came on, no?
Yeah, it's Vinayak Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Vinayak Prabhu. Nice to have you here.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Prabhu. So we've been discussing this point of bringing people and educating people and not keeping them on the same platform, facilitate for their Krishna conscious advancement and make, help them. So in the ISKCON institution, they do this, but at some time after being a devotee, they realize all these things, but they get stuck in the mud kind of thing, right? And they don't know anywhere else to go. So what should they do? For example, I've been in ISKCON chanting my rounds, 16 rounds. Then I get to a point where I'm at the peak of whatever service I am. Like you were saying, they're expert pot washers.
Because when you do it as a ritual, then it's just being a good member of that church or that member of that temple or that group. And that's what the group wants. So you do it. If you have to do it nicely, do it nicely. You have to do it and listen carefully, do that and listen carefully. But at the end, you're only doing it because you know that's what you're supposed to do. You're not doing it because there's a realization for you at the end of the road.
Okay, so someone is being ordered to do something and they just do it and they become expert at it and they like what they're doing, but sooner or later they're like, oh, what else is there that I don't see? Or, I've been doing this, I'm very expert, I've trained 20 people to do this. What more can be done?
What's next? And then the person at that point, if they become actually very good at everything, the GBC will say, well, why don't you become an initiating guru? And then you can share your accomplishment of chanting offensively on your rounds with people who are learning how to not chant offensively on their rounds.
Can you not do that without being a Kanishta Adhikari successor, wannabe?
Well, if you consider the whole thing, that ISKCON is Kanishta Adhikari by nature.
Right. Follow the 4 regulated principles.
But there has to be an objective. The objective is not just to belong to ISKCON. It is to become self-realized.
Right.
So how do you become self-realized? This is where they're stuck. They think if we keep on doing all these rituals, Hinduish, Catholic-ish, Jewish-ish, whatever, they just keep on going through the rituals, hoping that some sort of epiphany will be there.
Yeah, the rituals. And
of course, go ahead.
I mean, there are some rituals in ISKCON, but it's very minimal rituals, right? Compared to
following the 4 regulated principles is a ritual. Reading morning and evening classes is a ritual. These things are all rituals if you don't have a sense of where it's taking you. The first thing is, Kanishta platform of ISKCON is meant to engage more people in the Kanishta Adhikari platform of ISKCON. In other words, in the beginning of the movement, we would have people, sometimes 50 people in a month would join the temple.
Wow.
And they had no previous conception.
Right.
They just liked what they heard, they joined. Then they'd go out and shave up, they'd go out on Sankirtan, they'd wear tilak, they'd play mridanga, they'd play kartals. But it's not that is the end result. That is the beginning of the process, and that we want to continue. ISKCON is to continue to present the context for beginners joining. But now the beginners are not joining. Like in Los Angeles, it's almost like a ghost town. Nobody's joining because there's no reason for them to join.
That's the thing, there's no reason for them to join. So the movement, at least in America, it seems like it's stunted to a large degree because of, what's the reason? Why? Because they have disobeyed Srila Prabhupada? Or what's the reason why this is going on?
Because they have
ritualized
ISKCON to follow Kanishta Adhikaris as their guru, instead of following Prabhupada as their guru. If people sat down and listened to Prabhupada saying, this is my guru, not this is my guru's guru. If they sat down and said, this is my guru, what is he asking me to do? All these quotes that you came up with, aren't they calls for action?
Yeah.
Prabhupada?
Yes.
So Prabhupada calls for action, then it's up to us to choose to act. But if we think that the only action required is to listen to it, blah, 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 then we're not going to act. We're not going to consider this is my path to becoming a pure devotee. Because my guru isn't, so why should I be? My Kanista guru is not a pure devotee. Why should I be a pure devotee? Or worse yet, I could say my Kanista guru is a pure devotee, so if I do what he does, that'll be fine. And when you do what he does, you're back where you started. What he's doing is a slightly more advanced form of what you're already doing.
Right.
As you see.
Yeah, Krishna. So I'll shift gears here, and there's some questions on our discussion page on YouTube. Okay, I'll post it. Okay, here is Christopher Prabhu. He's our viewer from, I think it's in London or something, or UK. So Christopher asks, I remember reading the story of an ISKCON guru who may well have been an Uttam Adhikari. Do you think that is possibly true? His name was Govinda Swamy.
Well, he certainly thought that he was.
He thought he was a Uttam Adhikari.
But if you read, I spent some time in Puri and Bhubaneswar, and I got some of his books, and I was reading them to see where he was at. He presumes that he was born with a similar consciousness as Srila Prabhupada.
Similar.
So what was he actually able to do? My view, although this is not a popular one, was that he died, I think, in Mayapur. I think he was murdered because he wanted to be the Acharya. And he had more qualifications than anyone in second place. But just because you know more than somebody else doesn't make you the Acharya. You have to be, it's not a question of knowledge or realization even. It is descent from Krishna Loka that determines the Acharya. You see, the minute we stand back and see the material world and we see Krishna Loka, we can see all those paintings we like, and those Krishna and the gopis are dancing and whatnot, and Radharani's there, Lalita Vishaka are there. Then we look down and we see New York City, Los Angeles, Sacramento. We see those places. They're not the same place. The Krishna Loka is a realm of Uttama Adhikaris only. You make it sound like, oh, is he become an Uttama Adhikari? Well, he's pretty advanced. Maybe he's getting close. That's not the point. That's not how you become an Uttama Adhikari. Uttama Adhikari is not an advancement from Kanista Adhikari. You're not advancing to Uttama Adhikari. When you're not Uttama Adhikari, you're completely perfected under the protection of Yoga Maya. There's no comparison between an Uttama Adhikari and any member of ISKCON. How could there be?
I mean, if he was an Uttama Adhikari, if Govinda Swamy was an Uttama Adhikari, right? He could have done something like Srila Prabhupada has done, right? Worldwide movement on his own power, but he joined.
Yes.
He joined.
And he didn't completely agree with everything Prabhupada said either. He just said, well, us Uttama Adhikaris differ on certain points. No,
Right.
I mean, the thing we need to understand, and I realize that we'll get a lot of opposition from a lot of people, is that we don't need another Uttama Adhikari. I mean, how many, in 2,000 years, how many Jesuses have there been?
That's what I'm saying. One.
Yeah. How many Moseses, how many Abrahams have there been? How many Muhammads have there been? I mean, really, how many do you need? One? Do you need one in every mosque? Do you need one in every church? That's not the way it works. You have one Muhammad, then you have millions of mosques.
Mm. All the Hindus or everyone in the world should take Prabhupada as their guru.
Well, that would help because Hindus don't have a God,
Right,
right?
right.
They worship a thrift store idea. So here's one of these, and here's one of those, and this one looks good. Why don't I take it? We'll put them all in a row in front of the room, and then we can display them. And this is I got from my grandfather, and this is one that I picked up in India, and then we'll worship. That's not worship. There's no sadhana. The whole idea of Prabhupada had was not that we have a deity and we go there and ask it for things, that we have a deity and we develop sadhana, meaning that we learn to love that deity as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But how can you do that when you have every sort of demigoddess and demigod in the same room with Ramachandra and Krishna and Vishnu? You can't do it. So the Hindus actually have less than most religions. The Christians don't have more than Jesus.
Right.
And some saints on the side.
And the
Jews
Hindus
don't have anything. The Jews don't.
And the Hindus have so many bogus gurus. Right?
Yeah, and they're not related to each other.
Right.
It's not like they're under one roof. The closest roof for Hindus right now is ISKCON. They're all merging to join ISKCON. They're going to join ISKCON. The question is, what sort of ISKCON will they join? And what will ISKCON have to sacrifice to attract the Hindus? Will you start having Durga Puja in the Krishna temple?
Yeah, that's a very good point, Narayana Prabhu, that all these Hindu temples will not survive. And it will eventually have to be an ISKCON or Harikrishna temple, right?
Well,
ISKCON.
yes, but even so, it won't be of any use unless it has Prabhupada as the Acharya.
Yeah. So it is up to us to propagate this message that you guys have a guru, and here's that person, here's his book. You read it, understand it, come to the Istagosthi, discuss all these things, and then preach.
Yeah, but are the Hindus even, I'm not saying the Hindus, that's generalization, but would you say the preponderance or the majority of Hindus are interested in spiritual perfection and understanding the purpose of life?
A very, 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 very few.
Right, and they've joined ISKCON. So the whole point then is, if you want to understand the purpose of life, then the first thing you have to understand is Lord Chaitanya is the Yuga avatar, and that the holy name is that which you're trying to worship to get. You're trying to get, as an end result of your worship, what we're offering you at the front door, namely the holy name of Krishna.
Yeah. Another point is, I'm from the Hindu background, so I deal with these people on a daily basis, and I distribute books to them. But it's very hard for them to understand all these things because they've understood everything in a hodgepodge way from their birth.
Well, they've been essentially spiritually sodomized by the Muslims.
Yeah, right.
Otherwise, where did the word Hindu come from?
Right.
Where did the word India come from? At the time of the independence of India, there were people opting to call the new country Bharat, not India. Because India was basically a product of the Muslims, the Mughals, and the British. So as long as Bharat goes by the name of India, as long as Hindus don't accept the term Sanatana Dharma, then there's not going to be anything more than just a hodgepodge of temples such as we've seen in all over the place, including Sacramento.
Exactly. Yeah. They're mostly into the ritualistic thingies and this, that. They're not into discussion. More or less interested in a good family life, good bank balance, nice relationships.
Oh, sure. Well, who isn't? But the question is, you say that you were raised Hindu. What do Hindus want by worshiping besides belonging to the group? That could be Boy Scouts or a gardening club.
Yeah, many of them, they do not know what is the goal of life. I mean, most of them that I deal with, they're fairly, well, you can say money-wise, they have enough money to survive. They have enough brains to make businesses, enough brains, good house, somewhat good family, but the goal of life was totally out the door.
Yeah, but how do the Hindus connect their prosperity with their activity in the temple?
How do the Hindus connect their prosperity to the temple?
Yeah, or the deities in the temple.
Well, they have all kinds of deities, first of all. So,
sure. But I mean, when they worship the deity in the temple, are they just doing it for fun, out of tradition, because their grandmother did it, or because they want something?
Yeah, it can be they want something, or the grandmother did it and they want to be continuing that grandmother sampradaya.
Well, in that whole thing in Bangladesh, I think that whole Durga Puja was trying to get benefits for themselves by worshiping Durga. Otherwise, why did they put up so much money, probably millions of dollars, they put up to make so many effigies or so many images of Durga, so many shrines to Durga, temporary ones, and all of that stuff? Why did they do that? Just for political power? It didn't work, did it?
No.
So was it political power, or was it they were wanting the deity to give them something? I want the mercy of Durga. I want Durga to increase my job qualification. I want Durga to give me better pay. I want Durga to give me better children. I want Durga to give me a good wife. What is their objective in Bangladesh, say, for worshiping Durga? Of course, there's the political side. If we get Durga worshipped as a political basis, then the religion, Hindu Durga worshipping religion, can take a strong place alongside of the Muslim religion in Bangladesh and Christian and other religions. That's a political outcome. But how much different is it between the political objective or the, if I worship, I will get some benefits, meaning money or better house or something like that, I know I'll be that I will give a sacrifice to the Durga, and she will give me a much better situation and give me more than the value of what I spent on the sacrifice. I mean, if people thought I will pay 1,000 rupees to worship Durga and all they get back is 5 rupees, what's the point?
Right. Yeah, this is the problem when dealing. I mean, Prabhupada also had this difficulty in India when he was preaching to these Indians, right? Indians wanted money, going to the West, this, that. So.
Well, yeah, but I'm trying to connect the Indians with their religion.
Right.
Their religion.
Sanatana Dharma.
How do you, now, you were raised in the religion. Is there any way for you to actually declare the real reasons that Hindus are Hindus and practice Hinduism is because they want A, B, C? What is it they want?
It's a good question to ask these people who I hang out with, trying to get them.
I'm asking you. You were raised a Hindu.
What? You're asking me what question? What?
What was the purpose of your family being Hindu? What did they want?
Well,
God?
I actually didn't know what I wanted with God. I was, grew up, in Fiji, and then we migrated to America. I was somewhat religious, but not so much. I was.
Well,
You can-
religious or not, you must have wanted something. Why go just for social life? Okay, not you.
No,
How
no,
about
I'm thinking about myself. So
How about a religious Hindu? What does he think he's going to get from being a Hindu?
yeah, that's a very good question to ask these people
Christians
because
are transparent. Christians are very transparent. What they want from being a Christian is salvation. They want to go to Swargaloka, which is still in the material universe, which they don't realize. They want to go to Swargaloka.
no, the Hindus also want this.
Heaven, what?
I said the Hindus also want this. They have a song that, "Dear God, bless me with wealth, good, good brain substance, good wife, good house, good children. May your family be in peace." It's things like this.
Well, who are they asking?
The devotees and the other demigods, Krishna.
I would think that the devotees and the demigods would get confused because here's this person. Oh, devotees, please give me ABC. Give me these things. Good wife, good business, whatever. And they devotees start looking at each other. Was he talking to you or talking to me?
Yeah, that's a very good point.
I mean, how do the devotees know to whom you're talking?
Right.
How does the Hindu know to whom he's talking?
Well, they chant that goddess's name, Ganesh. For example, we're doing Ganesh Puja, so this offering is to Ganesh. And then they move on to Rama, or then go to Krishna, then go to, the Navagraha, all these.
So there is a hierarchical sense of worship within the Hindu practices.
Yeah, right, yes.
That's what I was sort of getting at.
They do have that.
But what is their measuring device? How do they know that if they worship the way they worship? I'm sure if you worship Durga in a way that Durga gets absolutely enthralled, that you're going to get a benefit out of it of some sort. But how do they know whether Durga will like their worship or not?
Yeah, that's a very good question. How their worship is it satisfying to Durga or not? That's a very good question. How would you measure that? I mean, in our case, in Krishna consciousness, we follow the regulated principles, we chant Hare Krishna, there's immediate benefit. We can see it, right?
Because the benefit in Krishna consciousness, in ISKCON, even with the Kanista gurus and whatever clouding the scene, you feel the advancement by chanting Hare Krishna. By chanting japa, you feel yourself advancing spiritually. And the goal of Krishna consciousness is not to get a good wife and a good business. The purpose of Krishna consciousness and ISKCON, no matter how Hindufied people are coming and trying to make it into a beneficiary thing for themselves, that's not the purpose of ISKCON. When you come to ISKCON chant, that is so that you become spiritually enlightened. There's no other purpose to Krishna consciousness other than self-realization. And what does that mean? Self-realization means aham brahmasmi, I am spirit soul.
Try. Oh, well, we got some nice comments from devotees online I'd like to share on our
Oh yeah,
screen.
let's have them.
All right. So our devotees, friends watching online. All right, let's see. Aristo, our good friend Aristo, Prabhu is here.
Aristo, Haribol. If you're listening, Aristo, I am always mulling over the wonderful conversation that we had that was so esoteric and so excellent and so promising of a better future for all of humanity, which you have the impulse and the instinct and the aptitude to make that happen. And I have the desire also to make that happen. And the background, because of my association with Srila Prabhupada, let's all work together and make it happen. It's not a pipe dream. It is a reality.
Jai. So Rishta Prabhu writes, what does it say? The differentiating between Hinduism and Krishna consciousness is done by reading His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada's books, Prasadam, chanting 16 rounds daily, and living a Krishna conscious life. Jai.
Absolutely.
Then he says,
because whether you're married or if you're a brahmachari or simply a visitor in an ISKCON temple, you're really living a monastic life. ISKCON is a monastic life.
Jai.
Just following the regulated principles is monastic. When we first became devotees, we were living in the temple. We were living in the temple as monks, and then sometimes people began to get married. They would get an apartment, and then they'd come to the temple. But altogether, there was no difference in the way we did it between monastic and brahmachari for householder, or the monastic life of a householder. It's all monastic. We're restricting ourselves by the standard the Prabhupada set for ISKCON. So, does I get close to answering Aristo's question, or
no? Aristo is making a point that understanding the difference between Hinduism and Krishna consciousness is done by reading his Srila Prabhupada's books, Prasadam, offered to Krishna, chanting 16 rounds, and living a Krishna conscious life. So this is how you can understand how Krishna consciousness is totally transcending this Hindu.
You hear from the pure devotee, you surrender to the pure devotee, you accept the teaching of the pure devotee, then you act on the teachings of the pure devotee. You practice what he teaches you to practice. Why? Because you want the outcome that he is offering you, which is pure, unalloyed love of God, which is going back to home, back to Godhead. This is something that Christianity or nobody else can offer, because although they have sort of like ritualistic idea, if you take the baptism and take the wine and the flesh as the blood of Jesus and the bread is the flesh of Jesus, you will die and go to heaven. That's not actually going to happen, and I think most Catholics now realize it's not going to happen. They're rebelling against the teachings of the church, and the Pope is sort of going along with it. So yes, Aristo's right on the target.
Jai, Haribol. Let's see. Aristo Prabhu saying Haribol Narayan, working always to make it happen daily.
Yes.
Jai. So that's about it for our question.
Daily. Why only daily? Why not day and night?
That's what he's doing day and night. So we'll have a conversation with him either tomorrow or Friday or something. He wanted to talk to us about the future. Jai. All right. So I'll continue my sharing here about education now. Srila Prabhupada talks about education, and what does he say? Prabhupada is saying here. 1 second, let me share it on my screen. We'll have a laugh here with this quote. Is Mahaprabhu there? Maybe Mahaprabhu can read this. Mahaprabhu in the house?
He may not be home yet.
Okay. Rupa Manjari, is she listening? Maybe she can read.
Yeah. Is she on?
I think
Okay, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, Dr. Patel. The modern education has become a farce in that dress. Prabhupada. Farce, yes, no education. Amongst the Marwaris, the respectable gentlemen, they don't send. They keep private teachers, pandits, for learning Sanskrit, English. They know that my boy hasn't got to earn money. He has to sit here, that's all. Why should he be spoiled? They know very well we can purchase these technologists.
So this is pretty interesting, huh, Narayan Prabhu? How the respect.
Marwaris.
Yeah. So can you comment?
Because they have already provided for their children within their own structure. The child is getting far more than a college education.
Right. They have enterprises, big businesses, so they don't need to go to this slaughterhouse. They need to learn about their own Vedic Sanatan Dharma culture, right? That's what we're saying here.
Henry Ford didn't have a college education, you know.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so somebody came and said, Henry, you're successful, you're a multimillionaire. Why not just take some time and go to school and get the education that you didn't get? He said, what sort of, well, you could be an engineer, you could do this. So Henry Ford pushed a button on his desk, and this guy, completely in convulsions of anxiety, walks into the room. He said, hello, Joe, what are you? Oh, I'm an engineer. I work for you. Yeah, and if I need engineering done, you know what exactly to do? Oh, yes, I hope so. He's terrified. Am I going to be fired? Why did he call me? You know? Then he pushes another button, and he says, who are you? He says, I'm your publicist. I make sure that the newspapers always have the correct and the most favorable articles about Henry Ford. So yeah, okay, that's good. And what is your degree? Oh, I have a PhD in English. Oh, do you? Okay. So after he did that a few times, he turned to the person and said, why should I go to school? I have such power that I can hire people. And that's sort of what Prabhupada is saying there about the rewards.
Yeah, and now
why do they have to go and subject themselves when they're already, they can hire the people for that knowledge? You don't have to be smart. If you're stupid, then even a college education won't help. But if you're smart, then you don't need to get a degree in math. You hire a mathematician. You don't need, right? You don't need political science. You hire a political scientist.
Try.
And keep yourself free from the sluggishness of going every day to school.
And that's a very good point. I've noticed, at least in the Hindu community here, most of these people are very well educated, and now the children are also very well educated. So the only thing they're missing is this Krishna consciousness, and which they're very, reluctant to take.
Well, because they don't know what it is.
Yeah, right.
If they knew what it was, they would dive on it.
Mm.
They're very intelligent. They're very educated. Those are two clues that if they knew what Krishna consciousness actually was, they would dive on it.
Mm.
And because they're intelligent, because they're algorithmically programmed to the degree that they're practically little computers themselves, or big computers themselves, because of that, they sense that Krishna consciousness is the ultimate and algorithmic exploration.
Mm.
You start with many factors, and it reduces down to one end result, which is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the end of the algorithmic quest.
Mm.
That's what I've suggested to people that are dealing with techies, with IT people.
Right.
Explain Krishna consciousness is absolutely the perfection of algorithms.
Try.
It's not like it's Durga's there and you see her there, or she's sitting on a tiger and she's stabbing you with her pitchfork. No, that's not. That's sentimental. What? You need to understand, why is Durga stabbing with her trident? Why is Ganesh doing what he's doing? Why are these demigods doing what they're doing? If you knew why they were doing what they were doing, you'd say, why am I dealing with them? I want to bypass them, and I want to go directly to the source. And if I go straight to the source in Silicon Valley, they'll give me a $200,000 a year job. If I go straight to the source in Krishna consciousness, I could become a pure devotee of the Lord. But no one is teaching them this except us.
Right. Mm.
You see, we need to show them all of that intelligence that you have is not misdirected, it's well directed, but it's not completely directed.
Mm. Mm.
Not directed to the point that you can actually algorithmically access the inner core philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Even the chanting of the Maha Mantra, if you look at it algorithmically, it'll take you a lot further than if you just chant sentimentally, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. If you start finding out what that vibration is actually doing, you're realizing it's acting on a plane that is beyond the plane of mere words.
Mm.
And then when you see the connection between the sound vibrations or the written word of the Hare Krishna mantra and Krishna himself, if you're into IT, you should be able to figure that out with the skills you've learned in school.
Mm.
Under the guidance of Srila Prabhupada, of course.
Try. So anyone?
Does that make sense?
Yes,
You like
Prabhu.
that?
Yes. Anyone have any questions on our Facebook, WhatsApp? Please post it in their chat or in the Facebook Live chatting group, so I can ask, or you can join our Zoom. All right, let's keep the discussion going here. We got about 30 more minutes. So we'd like to, anyone who's watching this on Facebook and YouTube, if you'd like to participate, please join the WhatsApp group. We have devotees there. I'm there, and Narayan Prabhu's there. You can contact us live any day, any time, more or less, right? I
And
know
there are
Nar-
others here too. There are many others.
Yeah, there are many others here. So we're part of a online spiritual community, Zoom.
Yeah,
This-
Mohit is not here tonight, huh?
Mohit is not here. Yeah, he's not here tonight. Mohit is there. So let's see, any questions? Okay. We have Kaushal Prabhu made a comment. He says, why Krishna asked Arjuna to worship Durga Devi on the battlefield of Kurukshetra? I'm not sure what's going on here, but Prabhupada doesn't talk about this.
Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita, as it is, asked Krishna to worship Durga Devi of the Bhagavad
No, that's
Gita.
not there in Prabhupada's books. It's not there.
It
But
could be something in the Mahabharata.
yeah, it could be, because they were following this varnashram system, right? I mean,
Yeah.
look at the gopis. You know, they were worshiping that goddess Kantayani for Krishna as their husband, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
So the ultimate goal was to have Krishna as their husband. So I'm not sure what's the context of you asking
Yeah,
this.
so unless there's a quote, there's nothing to address.
Yeah, or give a reference to the exact page where it is, and then we can discuss. All right, so let's see
But
what else.
The main core of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, I don't know what other Bhagavad Gita we're looking at, but the Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swamy Srila Prabhupada, the basic core is to surrender to Krishna.
Try. That's it.
And that starts from the very beginning. Krishna says, quite to the point, now is the time for friendly talks to cease.
Mm.
Which is a very strange thing, or a very unusual or remarkable thing, I should say, for Krishna to say to Arjuna, because they travel everywhere together as friends throughout the universe.
Yes.
Most people, most yogis can expand up to 9 times. But Krishna and Arjuna can expand unlimitedly.
Try. Okay, let me check.
Because Krishna and Arjuna appear in all the universes, not just India. right?
Yes. Okay, let's see if we have any comments from our devotees. Nope, no comments on Facebook. All right. So let me keep posting my quotes.
We want comments.
Yeah, we want comments, we want realizations, we want, what else we want?
We're going, it's like Kenkizi's bus. He had the destination of the bus, not South LA or something like that. He said further. So Kenkizi's bus on the front, where the destination is on top of the windshield, it said further. That was the destination. And that's what we're doing. We're going further.
So now we're going to deal with rich man. A rich man. Who's the rich man? Maybe there's some rich man watching on our YouTube channel. So Rupert Manjari, can you read this paragraph, please, Prabhu? Is she here?
Yeah, sure. The conclusion is that those who are rich men in society should construct beautiful temples and arrange for the worship of Vishnu, so that people may be attracted to visit such temples and thereby be offered the opportunity of dancing before the Lord, or chanting the holy name of the Lord, or else of hearing the holy name of the Lord. In this way, everyone will be given the chance to elevate himself to the kingdom of God. In other words, even a common man, simply by visiting such a temple, will be able to attain the highest benedictions, not to mention the devotees who are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord in full Krishna consciousness.
Wow, huh? This is very nice. So who's the rich man?
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because supposing you go to a rich man, I remember there was a rich man whose boat had gotten stuck. He's a salt merchant in Vrindavan on the Jumata River. His boat got stuck.
Yeah.
And I think he built a temple for Sanatana Goswami. But as for that purpose. But can you imagine if you're a rich man and you build a temple and it's bona fide, it's got beautiful Radha Krishna deities and the Shringa deity, everything, ISKCON style temple or Varnashram, our Sampradaya type standard, Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya temple, and you build it, you may never really have been interested in going to a temple. Oh yes, on a holy day, on Janmashtami, I show up with my family like that. But if you build the temple yourself, it'll probably be hard to keep you out of the temple.
Try.
You want to be there. So when a rich man gives something of great wealth, look at the benefit he gets, A, from doing it, and B, from associating with his gift, because he's attached to it. He gave it, he ordered it built, he hired the architects, he consulted the Brahmins, and now he wants to be in the presence of what he did. Just like if I build a skyscraper like the Empire State Building, what do I want to do? Go somewhere and live in a hut? No, I want to be in that building because, my God, it's a fantastic building.
Jai. So this is the duty of all rich men, to worship Lord Krishna, to arrange for temples of Lord Krishna, to see the chanting of the holy names of Krishna carried out, and this will help the whole world. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness.
I have a question.
Sure, Mahaprabhu, go ahead.
Does there exist a vow of poverty among the devotees or not?
Define poverty.
Having no money, having no material possessions.
You think?
Oh, of course, we have no material possessions. We consider, properly speaking, as we become accustomed to the purport or the conclusion of the Kanista Adhikari progressive platform, that nirmama, nothing is mine. That's stated in the Bhagavad Gita as it is. So everything we have, even a rich man with a palace can say nirmama. He says, I'm living in this palace, but it belongs to Krishna.
Got it.
So that's real renunciation. Real renunciation is to use your assets as though it belonged to Krishna, or put more accurately, realize that it does belong to Krishna, and then make sure it's used in Krishna's service. And if there's a nice chair for you to sit in your palace, sit on it. You're entitled.
Hmm. Now, what about a rich man that builds a temple? Must he be a devotee? Or can any rich man build a temple for Krishna consciousness?
Anybody can build a temple for Krishna consciousness, but it has to be done under the supervision of the proper architects that utilize Vastu Shilpa Shastra architecture technique, and they have to work under the guidance of Brahmins of high, and they have to calculate exactly where the altar is, and the deity is supposed to be installed by qualified pujaris. Yeah.
And where do we find such people?
They're all over the place.
They're all over the place.
ISKCON has tons of them.
Thank you, Prabhu.
If you want to make a temple, you could go to ISKCON and hire a bunch of devotees, and they'll come flocking.
Try.
Hi.
What else, Mahaprabhu? You've been quiet.
I know, I've been driving. I'm
Okay.
just driving up right now. I wish
Are you still driving?
Yeah, I just pulled up to the driveway.
Oh,
So I'm getting ready to go inside. I should be with you in a few minutes.
and see what sort of a mood your dad is in.
Oh boy, hopefully a good one.
Yeah, well, he's a great soul.
You know,
Look, when you're his age, you got to cut people slack, because the older you get, the less you feel generalized, the more you feel your life is very specific.
Just make sure your car's not leaking oil.
That's right. It seems as
Your dad's
the
car is
old.
leaking oil?
Well, it's 17 years old, so it's bleeding a little bit.
Oh,
Just not on his driveway, Mahaprabhu.
That's for sure. As he ages, he seems to be more. He's becoming a little bit more mean.
mean?
Yeah, MEAN.
How do you spell that?
MEAN. Mean. Aggressive.
MEAN?
Yeah, mean, like a mean individual, a curmudgeon,
Nasty.
nasty.
Well,
He has episodes
he wouldn't
where
be nasty. So you have to be sure that he has what he wants. Nobody's mean because they want to be. People are mean because they don't have what they think they want.
he keeps telling us he wants to be alone. He doesn't want anybody around him.
In his house?
That's correct.
Well, I mean,
He needs us here, but he doesn't believe that he needs our presence around him.
What does he want you to do? Buy a house next door and visit him during the day?
He wants everybody out. He wants to
Really?
change. He wants to change the locks. He wants to sell
You're
the
ju-
house.
Are you kidding me?
No, that's how he gets. He's very much like that. And then
Anyway,
at times,
if he sells a house and changes the locks, then where will he live?
he'll find some place to go. So he says.
By himself.
So he says.
Come on, he's only 92 years old.
95.
95, sorry. Oh, man.
He's quite a character.
Then you can tell him, we are 100% behind you. Don't change the locks yet, but let's make a 5-year deal. We'll keep things as they are for 5 years. When you're 100, then you can change the locks.
There we go.
That's a
Yes,
good deal, Mahaprabhu. 5 years.
Yeah.
It'll give
Yeah,
you some time to think.
he may
Yeah.
go to 102. Who knows?
Well, it says that he can reconsider it after he's 100. Maybe he's go another 2 years.
Extend the contract, right?
Extend the contract. Just tell him, yeah, we want you to be by yourself. We want you to do that when you've reached your 100th birthday.
All right.
That would throw him off. I'm actually serious. That would throw him off because it would give him a different perspective.
Hare
You
Krishna,
could
Hare
tell,
Bol.
you could say, Dad, Pops, Pitaji, you're too young to live alone.
That's right. Hey, that's a good one.
Isn't it?
Absolutely.
You're too young. Wait till you're 100, then we'll all voluntarily move out into old age homes of our own.
That's That's great,
Yeah.
Narayana.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
All right. Who's the old man here? No one's old.
We're eternal.
Right. As old as.
Yeah, by the way, have you convinced your dad that he's eternal yet?
Not quite.
Have you tried?
Little by little.
No. Nah, you haven't tried.
I've
Have you
hinted
really
to him.
tried?
Absolutely.
Huh?
Absolutely.
So, have you told to him, Dad, I don't have a soul?
I
What
haven't.
does he
I
say if
am
you-
so.
That's
What
right.
I say, Dad, I don't, Pita, G, I don't have a soul. What do you mean? I am the soul and I have a body. Like I am the driver and I have a car. You're the driver and you have a car leaking oil in the trunk.
That's
You have
great.
to, you know, what is happening is he's got a very clear idea of what he wants. Psychologically, psychically, emotionally, and it's very annoying for him to have people around him. But
Mm.
if you can get him to recalibrate his thinking process, you see what I'm saying? Get him to
Update the software.
yeah, exactly. Download a new program.
That's right. That's right.
So when you do that, be sure that you don't have to explain that what you're doing. Just do it. It's just like saying, Dad, yeah, we'll all move out, but you're not old enough for us to move out. You're not old enough to live by yourself. We'll move out when you're 100. I mean, what can he say about that?
I'm
Just
not
say,
sure what.
You're too young to live alone.
Mhm.
Has he ever lived alone?
No.
Okay, that's because he's too young. If he was old enough to live on his own, he would have done it by now.
Oh, good point. I like that one.
Yeah, we'll use it.
I will.
Dad, you're not old enough to live on your own. If you were old enough to live on your own, you would have lived on your own years ago. That's not the way it goes. You're only 95. Let's have this conversation when you're 100. Then we will gladly let you live alone.
Great
We'll be glad
insight,
to.
Narayana.
Yeah, come on. All the material things in this universe are relative. So you just rearrange them algorithmically. Arrange everything. You can arrange whatever you like. Starting in spirit soul, that's an absolute. Spirit soul means Aham Brahman, I am the soul. I don't have a dimension. I'm a non-dimensional soul. Doesn't it give one an enormous leverage? If I am non-dimensional, don't I have leverage over everything that thinks it has a dimension? The material body is the belief that you have a dimension, right? Arms, legs, feet, height, weight, width, whatever. That's all material. But if you are the soul, you say, I don't have any of those things. I don't have any height. I don't have any weight. I don't have any width. I don't have any skin color. I don't have anything. I am simply uniquely, minutely alone. As a result, nobody can touch me.
Great points, Narayan.
Use them. You'll forget, but my recommendation is use them.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. Your dad has a lot of, obviously, he wouldn't be as old as he is if he didn't have a lot of psychic power. I mean, he's not as old as he is because he works on the gym every day and has great abs. He's the way he is. He's become the way he is by essentially renouncing everything he was in the past, right?
Correct.
Everyone does. You have too, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Who has not renounced everything in the past to embrace the present? I mean, when you're a kid, when you're 9 years old and you have your 10th birthday, you say, fine, I can renounce all that crap leading up to 10, because now that I'm 10, I can kick serious, you know what? And then you say, but I need to be 15. And then you go for that. So that's all I'm saying. 95, go for 100. You will outgrow the desire to be alone at 95 once you have set your mark on being alone at 100, when you have reached that level of power, not maturity, not old age, power. If you're 100, you'll be 10 times more powerful than you are today. Isn't that true? How can you be powerful? We can't see because you look at your father as older than you. But if you look at it from your father's point of view, your Pita's point of view, how can you be 100 if you're not more powerful than 95? More consciousness, less body. Right?
Correct.
Use it.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. Will you remember how to do it?
I will try.
If you forget, give me a phone call.
Jai.
This could save everybody, including your dad's wife.
Thank you, Prabhu.
You know, legally, he can kick you guys out.
Yes, he can.
You could probably argue it in court that he can't, and get a conservatorship, but that would be sort of a rat's ass thing to do, you know?
Right.
Better to use your high intelligence, acharya, being an acharya, be the acharya for your father, and say 100 is mature for you, 95 is not yet there. It's not that you need anybody with you, it's that you're not ready to live on your own until you have the full independence of 100 years under your belt. Now, either he will see through you or he'll accept what you say, but all in all, it will change his position without the shadow of a doubt, right?
Correct.
Do you have the guts to do it?
Yes, Prabhu.
You're bigger than he is now. You're stronger than he is.
from a material standpoint.
Why, you think he's psychologically stronger than you are?
He's a pretty tough dude.
He might call the mafia on you, Mahaprabhu.
There we go. That's right. I was trying to keep that out of the equation.
Tough dude. He's not tough. He's not tough at 95. He's tough at 60 when you remember him now at 95 being tough. It's you who think he's tough in your brain. In reality, he's not tough. He's a 95-year-old gentleman. How tough could he possibly be?
No.
He can't, can he? If he's tough, then arm wrestle him and see who wins. You see?
He might cut off his arm.
Yeah,
Or he
well,
may cut. He may
maybe
cut
we'll
off
have to
mine.
see you in the intensive care ward after he speaks with you. Maybe he
Okay.
is that tough.
Hare Krishna.
But you get the picture? It's time for you to be tough. You know why?
Why?
He, an elderly gentleman, is your dependent.
Mm.
It's not omerta.
It's not what?
Omerta.
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 Yeah, that's the mafia vow.
Hmm. How would you
Now
know
I'm beginning
that?
to doubt that you know anything about the mafia. Therefore, you're not in the mafia family.
Well, we try to stay clear of that.
We have 6 minutes to go, guys.
Well,
Thank you, Rupa.
in 6 minutes, can you convince me why you don't know omerta if you're from a mafia family?
I wouldn't be able to do that. Not at this
Oh.
point.
Not yet. Okay.
Nice.
But there was a devotee named Parikshit who was a fantastic artist, still is. His paintings sell for over $30,000 each now. And I was working with him with the Prabhupada's illustrations of Prabhupada's books. He married a girl who was a devotee girl. She joined the ISKCON, but she was from a mafia family. She was one of the world's best cooks, by the way, giving credit to the mafia. She was incredible. She married him, was about to marry him. Before she married him, the mafia showed up. They were not going to let the marriage take place, or they weren't going to let him continue breathing and stuff like that if he was a challenge to her omerta.
Hmm.
But evidently, they left impressed because they stayed married for a very long time and had wonderful children together.
Fantastic.
All right, we got 5 more minutes.
Hare
Go ahead.
Krishna.
So what's in that picture there?
These are all the gurus and GBC and the Yes Man.
Is that Jaipataka in the wheelchair?
Yeah, that's him. You got a good eye, Narayan Prabhu.
Well, who else would be in a wheelchair?
That's a good question. That's a good point. Who else will be in a wheelchair?
Wow.
We got Malati, we got Gopal Krishna, we got Radhanath, we got Bhakti Charu. Oh,
Where's
we-
Malati?
She's
Malati's
not a
right here.
guru, is she?
She's not a guru, but she's right here in the middle. See
Oh,
it?
yeah. Uh-huh.
At the
Gopal
back,
Krishna.
that's Malati?
Ambarish, yes. Malati's right here.
Ambarish is not a guru.
No, I'm saying it's not. No, I said the gurus, the GBC, the Yes Man. These are all
What
the
are they
people.
doing there? Are they there with the?
The TOVP, the Temple of the Vedic Planetarium.
Prabhupada didn't want it by that name. He wanted it to be ISKCON World Headquarters.
ISKCON World Headquarters. Jai.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for such an
So-
interesting discussion tonight.
Oh, you got it.
It took me home.
But you're not in the house yet. You're not in your house yet.
Now I'm in the car still, waiting to wrap it up.
So we don't get to hear your dad today, huh?
That's right. You don't get to see me with my T-lock on.
Oh.
And I thank you for that, Narayan.
Jai Babu. We need to get everybody into the room with their hand in their Java bag, about to take prasadam, worshiping the deity.
Jai.
When I say everybody, we're talking billions of people right now. People, what to speak of all the microbes in their intestines that are going to go back to Godhead by tasting prasadam and hearing the holy name of Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
There's plenty of room for everybody in Krishna Loka. There's no need for jealousy in getting there. Quite the opposite. Causeless mercy is what we're called for. The more we are open, the more generous we are. Do you know what this whole thing I keep saying? You got to chant here and there and everywhere, not just sit down and chant 60 rounds. That 60 rounds thing is, I finally figured out because I saw something that Madhu wrote, and that is that the 60 rounds that you start out regular devotee, Kinasadakari, that as you continue chanting, you become a Madhyamadakari. Then after a while, you become an Uddhamadakari, and you float in and out of those three states. He did not get that from Prabhupada. Prabhupada, you don't float in and out of Uddhamadakari when you're a disciple. You don't float in and out of Madhyamadakari. So this guy, Sky Sandoval, I think that now we've got him answered, because who is the person that you think he wants to take initiation from?
One of the gurus in India, I think. He's living in India.
A guru in India.
Bhakti Vikash, I think.
Bhakti Vikash. So the question is, why? You have a choice. There's a fork in the road. You know what Johnny Carson used to say?
Maybe
when you find a fork in the road, take it.
Maybe he wants to join his ashram program in India. He has a couple of buildings that he's running. His disciples are running, and they're living this varnashram style lifestyle there. So ideally, he wants only his disciples there. So he would become a cult member of that group.
Well, that's good and that's fine and dandy for Bhakti Vikash, but what good does it do Sky in terms of going back to Godhead? You can give him a nice place. Maybe you can get a room or a house. You can get a nice lady to reproduce with. You can have all sorts of nice things. But is that why you take a guru? And you take a guru to get laid.
Okay, it's time to wrap it up.
Thank you, Rupa.
All right.
Okay,
So
thank you, Jai. Hare Krishna.
So thank you very much,
Rama.
Jai Mahaprabhu. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
That sounds pretty good.
Let's try it again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Wow, Mahaprabhu, you know it.
I'm getting it.
Who's in your car with you?
Me and my backpack.
And millions of entities, including fleas, cockroaches, whatever happens to be floating around inside of your car.
All right.
And
Hare
when
Krishna.
you chant it like that, they're all going to go back to Godhead.
All right,
Amen.
so we're going to end Godhead right here now.
The last thing I wanted to say on the topic is generosity. To be a devotee of Krishna with the holy name, you don't hang on to it like a miser. you're generous. You give the holy name, not that you just keep it because you want the salvation for your own worthless self. No.
Great topic for discussion on our next meeting.
Okay,
Good night,
Haribol.
everybody.
Thank you
Good
very
night.
much.
Find some. You can
Good
find
night,
some
Dasi.
short Prabhupada kirtans or lectures or something for us to have next time. Okay, on YouTube.
Jai, yes. Mahaprabhu will
Hare-
find it and let us
Krishna.
know.
All right.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci. Ciao. Buonanotte. Good night. Hare
Buonanotte.
Krishna.
Buonanotte.
All right. Thank you very much to all the devotees for joining. Please join us next time. Our next program would be on Saturday at 8 p.m., then Sunday. Thank you very much, Prabhus. Hare Krishna and all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai.
Ciao. Thank you.